last 2 or 3 days of new people that have come in that would like to just know the basics, just know what it's all about. There was a lady that called in a while ago, mentioned something. She'd been reading about protandem, and I know several others that would just really want to know some basics. So I thought maybe that would be a good thing to start with. The story of protandem started in about 1969, and it started with a young graduate student at Duke University named Joe McCord. And while he was doing research, working on his PhD, he discovered an enzyme system within every cell of your body except your red blood cells. And it's called superoxide dismutase. And this is something else, because it will destroy itself free radicals that causes aging, causes us to get wrinkles and squeaky joints and stiff joints as we age. It will neutrify, eradicate free radicals at the rate of 1 million, 1 milligram, 1 million free radicals. Everything up to that point that we found was a direct antioxidant, whereas it's an indirect antioxidant. And the direct antioxidants like vitamin C, vitamin E, alpha-lipoic acid, CoQ10, etc., only neutralize 1-to-1. Now, if that seems like that's a big difference, it is. 1-to-1 by taking your vitamin C, E, alpha-lipoic acid, CoQ10, whatever antioxidant you want to mention. That's 1-to-1. And this superoxide dismutase is 1 to a million. Now we also have another one we've known about from prior to Dr. McCord discovering superoxide dismutase. And by the way, he was 25 years old when he discovered that.
Wow.
And he wanted to get something that would stimulate that in every cell of your body that would be harmless. And he knew herbs was the only thing that would even affect that process. And it's called the Nrf2 pathway, a protein pathway that if you stimulate it in some manner, you're going to get tremendous results at the level of the nucleus of the cell. We already had the third one found years before that, which is called glutathione peroxidase. So there's the 3 enzymes in every one of your cells. And so he started working on this in his kind of spare time, working on his PhD. And he come up with about 84 herbs that he knew had the principles in them. If he had extracted out, would that in some form and some level. So he started studying them and doing research on them. He got them down to where he got about 7 that were the most potent. He took the extracts, mixed them together in a certain way, and their efficiency became tremendous. And so what he did, he kept working, he got it down to 5. And that's the 5 herbs that we have in protandem. And what he had to do was to put these extracts together in such a way that they would synergize each other. Now, that's like the sum together is greater than the sum of the parts. For example, it's like 2 plus 2 equals 6, because each one of them elevates the other. That's called synergy. And then he had this extract in a pill form, and he wondered, what shall I call this? And he looked around, he liked Latin names. So to synergize seemed like a good description of this new product. And so he looked that up, and that in Latin is protandem. That's where the name comes from, to synergize. Because if you don't synergize those 5 herbs, they have less than 1% absorption. Very, very weak effect in any way. But synergizing, it increased their effect 8 to a 97-year-old woman, and we've given it to a lot of animals, puppies on up, and bigger than puppies, like horses. And I know that most of the people that I know myself that own horses are on Protandim, and so are their horses. Maybe not all the horses in this country are, but there's a lot of them are, because it has a tremendous reaction in animals, in mammals. The only two mammals that I don't think has ever been tested are bats and whales. And I've volunteered personally for the company that they'll lasso a whale, and we somehow can get his mouth open. I'll scoop in about a shovelful of Protandim and see what happens. But that hasn't happened so far. No one's got one for me to do some research on. So all the rest of the products, more or less, pivot around that flagship product, Protandim. You can either dissolve it, grind it, or just swallow it. The key is to get in the whole dose in an adult each day in the morning with your breakfast. You take Protandim in the morning with your breakfast. I'm talking about the Nrf2, and I'm going to mostly limit my talk to that one because it's the first one, and we have more research, and it's easier to talk about the others once you understand Nrf2. So it impacts about 300 different afflictions that people have. It works on survivor genes. That's why it works so well. We all have survivor genes. They go into effect when our body's challenged. And that's what happens. When we run into a challenge, our body releases pulsatase of Protandim to meet that need. So what we do with Protandim is we increase the production. We markedly increase the production. In fact, the superoxide dismutase goes up about 36% after you've taken one pill a day of Protandim a month. The catalase goes up about 40–50%. And the big super antioxidant called glutathione peroxidase, we elevate it 300%. That's the biggest you can elevate glutathione, and we have it. And there's a lot of folks paying enormous prices for glutathione to be taken orally. But let me tell you, it's been proven that when oral glutathione is swallowed, the acid and enzymes in your, mainly enzymes in your mouth and the acid in your stomach, destroys it. So you're not getting anywhere. So why buy glutathione when you can make your own cheaper? And your own works perfectly in your body because it's made by your body for your body. And it's inside every cell in your body. And we elevate them. Except red blood cells doesn't have these enzymes. All the rest of the cells do. So that's kind of an overview. Remember, it has no drug interactions. It has no toxicity, totally no toxicity. And we can give it to any age group. I'm giving it to 3-week-old infants, many children that need it. And so that's kind of the overview, Steve. And we have other products. We have the weight control product, and it has things in it for those who are trying to lose weight. It has a terrific probiotic. It's the only sustained release probiotic I've ever seen. There may be others, but this is the first and only one I've ever seen. So that's an outstanding landmark. We have the puppy biscuit, Canine Health, and that's absolutely a dream. And we have facial products to get your face younger than it is fairly quick. There's all kinds of lifts for the baggage under our eyes, and that's a special product. And it doesn't take long for it to work. And then we have the energy drinks. And I know thousands of people taking the energy drinks, 2 or 3 packets of those a day in their work. Many nurses, night nurses, many people that are long haul truck drivers take Axial. You stay awake, and it makes you focus better, and it keeps you alert, and keeps you awake. And so that's kind of the overview, and I'll be glad to answer questions as we go tonight. We don't mention cure, treat, or mitigate any disease because we don't mention that. That isn't something that we're allowed to by the federal laws. So that is only a drug you can mention, treat, cure, or mitigate. So, Steve, I think that's my intro for these PCs and others, all the new distributors.